Everyone for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. I feel a lot of emotions right now, but I need to pick just a couple to talk about. One is joy. Just this morning we have found out that the arrests that took place and Jiaxi's arrest is now an urgent action issue for Amnesty International. So as I say in the letter to our senators, our New York senators, and the letter to Chinese officials, the eyes of the world are now on this issue, which is really uplifting. The other emotion I feel is awe. My friend Sophie Liu, she and her husband, Jiaxi, have courageously sacrificed for rights and privileges that we as Americans just take for granted. The ability to meet with like-minded friends and talk about politics. This is why Jiaxi is currently in secret detention. So those sorts of rights that go without thought in our minds are precious to people in China, right? And so I'm going to let Sophie tell her story. After Sophie's story, there will be about 15 minutes for question and answer. She is more than willing to answer any questions that you might have. And then after the Q&A session, I see people are already signing our petitions. You guys can sign anything, that's great. It's wonderful. But there is if you are signing petitions, there's a very short summary of what each letter contains. The letters themselves are there for you to peruse if you want to look at them in detail. But one thing I would add, for those of you that are signing right now, is to please put your specific address, okay? To have people kind of publicly declare their commitment to this cause by putting their specific address, like street number and zip code. It means a lot, instead of just putting your name and your signature. I'm going to turn things over to Sophie.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks so much to Alfred University and to President Mark Zupan, to Dr. Robert Regino and his student. Thanks for the technical group of Harder Hall who organized this talk today. Thanks so much to Vicky and Emery's Westcott to help me with the English of this script. And thanks Laurie DeMott and Robert Regino for the 2 petition letters. And thanks so much to all of you who have been sharing my video and have been giving me so much encouragement, concern, and support in the past days. I really appreciate it. When I decided to give this talk 3 weeks ago, I started to write the script, but I stopped many times, as I have too many stories to tell about China, and I'm too emotional to write them down to tell you in 1 hour about my feeling about my country. I can only say my family is very unlucky to be from an authoritarian country. But we are so lucky, I and my daughters, we can come to this country to enjoy the freedom here and to meet you, all of you, my dear friends. Today, I'm going to talk about my family link with Alfred, New Citizens Movement, the crackdown on New Citizens movement in 2013 and 2014. I'm going to talk about China citizen movement and the current crackdown, the Xiamen meeting, and the December 26 detention. And I also want to talk about why I want to speak up, why I want to give this talk here to everyone. 19 years ago, in February, my husband Jiaxi and our elder daughter arrived in Alfred, this small but beautiful village, visiting me while I was pursuing the master's degree in the ceramic engineering department with Dr. Linda Jones. At that time, Jiaxi was a young and ambitious commercial lawyer who worked diligently in setting up his law firm and was determined to contribute to the construction of the legal system in China. 1 month visit let Jiaxi first breathe the air of freedom and democracy. Everything here impressed him so much. Later, we had our younger daughter born here in Alfred. Before I went back to China in 2004, Jiaxi visited Alfred many times. When I look back, I realized that visiting Alfred has actually sowed the seeds of Jiaxi's desire to pursue change in China. At the beginning of 2010, Jiaxi met some criminal lawyers who worked on the appeal cases of mistreated people, such as those whose houses were taken away by the government without decent compensation, those whose kids were not allowed to go to school due to their parents' involvement in human rights activities, and those who worked for Chinese NGOs that struggled due to the tightening up by the government. He started to get in touch with many people who were suffering from the corruption of the government, the unjust policies of the legal system, and the misuse or non-implementation of the Chinese laws. He started to think about what the root causes of these social problems in China were, and what he could do to solve the problems. He came to US on February 2011 and studied this topic at Fordham University for 8 months. This 8 months is when his ideas about human rights, democracy, and freedom started to blossom in his mind, and he started his practice to seek change in China right after he got back to China, became a very active member of the China New Citizens movement. The China New Citizens movement is a series of activities that centers on freedom, social justice, and love. It was proposed by a civil organization named Gongmeng. The direct translation is Citizens Union, and is chaired by Mr. Xu Zhiyong. The mission of the New Citizens movement is to promote the transition of China from an authoritarian society to democratic society. The main activities of the New Citizens movement included the following 4 aspects. 1. Pledge as a new citizen. The goal of the pledge is to propagate the characteristic of new citizens, to be people of integrity, stay away from evil deeds, show concern and help others who have difficulty and trouble, pay attention to social issues, and support and protect civil rights, just like you did for me these days. There were around 20,000 people who signed the pledge. Second, promote equal education. This demand was aimed mainly at allowing the children of migrants who moved to the city from the countryside to have the right to study and take middle school and college entrance exams in the city without going back to their village, their hometown. Over 100,000 volunteers supported the removal of the residence limitation. In the end, the Department of Education did adopt a policy that allowed the kids to take the college entrance exams in the city where they live without going back to their hometown. Third, effort disclosure of top officials. New citizens went on the street to set up banners, to give speeches, and deliver pamphlets to tell people why this is important for anti-corruption, and collect signatures for a petition letter sent to National People's Congress. Fourth, dinner parties at the same city. New citizens had a dinner together on the last Saturday of every month to know each other, to share topics they concerned, basically to practice the freedom of getting together that was written in the Chinese Constitution. This type of dinner party was held in around 30 cities, such as Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. Not only 2 years and 1.5 years started in 2013, April, the crackdown on the New Citizens New Citizens movement was started. The leader of the New Citizen movement, Xu Zhiyong, and Ding Jiaxi, as well as other activists, were arrested. Xu Zhiyong was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Ding Jiaxi was sentenced to 3.5 years prison. And over 10 other activists were sentenced to 2 to 6.5 years prison at different cities in China. After Xu Zhiyong and Ding Jiaxi were released from the prison, they decided to continue to develop the civil society in China. They changed the name of the movement to China Citizen Movement, which was meant to be more inclusive and more open to the public, and to open to different ideas on the construction of a civil society. But they carry the same logo and the same idea of freedom, social justice, and love. The new movement focuses on promoting community service, such as visiting and helping families whose children have suffered from a fake vaccine product, speaking up for people who have been mistreated illegally or by forced disappearance. They continue to encourage people to use their rights to challenge the status quo and speak up for their own rights. It continues the idea of citizen, but not just a resident, without any voice or attitude, without any opinion. Having learned a lesson from the crackdown on the New Citizens movement, they did most discussion activity through the internet. So this is a website they set up on the Twitter. Even they did everything on the internet, but the government new crackdown still started. On December 7 and 8, 2019, Xi Zhiyong, Ding Jiaxi, some lawyers, human rights activities, and other friends, in total 21 people, they got together at Xiamen, Fujian province, to enjoy the weekend and, of course, to share their ideas on civil society, human rights, the world situation today, and the future of China. The topics discussed at the meeting include how to face the crackdown on civil society, how to create spaces to work on topics related with the benefit of the community. They talked about the problems that China could face during the transition from an authoritarian country to democratic country, including economical, political, and national issues. They talked also about international problems that China could face during the transition. They also discussed the domestic public event of 2019, as well as a New Year's Eve message for 2020, as they did every year. After the meeting, start from December 26, 2019, the crackdown started. 6 people were detained. 2 of them were released after 2 to 10 days of interrogation, but 4 of them were sent to residential surveillance at a designated location. We acronym it as RSDL. This kind of detention without any access to legal counsel. The police said unofficially that they were suspect of inciting the subversion of state power. None of the detainees' family received any written notification regarding the crime suspected. RSDL means secret detention, as long as they like, and possible heavy torture. The lawyers of the detainees asked for the basic evidence of the crime, but the policemen refused to give any information. 6 people were summoned and released after 24 to 48 hours interrogation. 4 people fled to United States. 5 people, including Mr. Xu Zhiyong, Tang Jinling, I mentioned them because they were arrested during the New Citizens Movement also. They are hiding in China, firstly, but just 2 days before this talk, Mr. Xu Zhiyong was taken away by the policeman at Chinese time around 6 p.m. February 15. As of today, the policemen are still searching, chasing, and harassing the families of the meeting participants. 1 family is stuck in Japan, 1 family is stuck in Hong Kong, and 1 family was prohibited from traveling and was sent to detention for 3 days. The 4 under secret detention is Ding Jiaxi, my husband, Zhang Zhongshun, a professor of Yantai University, a gardening specialist. Dai Zhenyang is a senior financial manager at a private company in Xiamen. Li Yinjun is a factory worker in Zhangzhou, Fujian province also. Why I decided to do this talk? First of all, of course, I love my husband. Although we have been separated so many years, I have never stopped loving him. I know he is a wonderful person. He is full of love to his family, to his friends, and everyone around him. I know him very well, and I know very well that He didn't do anything against any law. His rights need to be ensured. In this slide, this is a Valentine card made by one of my friends using the Twitter that I sent out the past 50 days. The Twitter mostly is my church friends talk about their view on this arrest and some of the pictures, and also our visit to White House to see the officials in the U.S. State Department of State, see the officials in CECC, China Committee, and the China Desk. So, secondly, I'm here to speak up, not only for my husband, but also for the families facing similar situation to mine due to their family member thinking independently and trying to do good things for China. Forced disappearance, secret detention, and torture without access to legal counsel or family members is such an inhuman thing. But the Chinese government uses it so blatantly and so frequently in recent years on all kinds of people. They used on journalists, lawyers, Christians, foreign diplomats, the Canadian foreign diplomats, feminists, NGO workers, labor union workers, Tibetan, Uyghur, and Hong Kong people. Here I will just give a few examples. The first example is the 709 cases. Why we call it 709? Because it is on July 9th, 2015. Over 100 lawyers who had been working on the legal appeals for disadvantaged people, the indigent people and the disfranchised people, were detained without any legal notification or any criminal evidence, and were sent to the RSDL also. Some of them were sentenced to over 10 years in prison with faked criminal. And some of them were kept in secret detention 2 to 4 years before their family and legal counsel were able to see them. This first slide is the lawyer Wang Quanzhang. He was in secret detention just 10 days to 4 years before his wife can see him. In the picture is his family picture. When he was detained, his son is only 2 years old. Now he's 6 years old. And in this picture, I showed more pictures for the 709 cases because their family member also speak up. In this picture, the first corner picture is lawyer Li Heping, a comparison of him before the secret detention and after secret detention. You can see he is almost 10 years older than before he was detained. And all the wives, they hold their husband picture before detention and after detention. Only Wang Quanzhang at that time still not being able to see his wife. The second case is the Chengdu Early Rain Covenant Church case. Pastor Wang Yi recently was sentenced to 9 years of prison in charge of inciting subversion of the state power after 1 year secret detention. His wife was also sent to secret detention for 6 months. Until today, this case, among all the 4 cases, this case, I can't contact his wife, Jiang Ren's, because she was still under heavy surveillance by the police. The third case is lawyer Yuan Sen's secret detention case. He was sent to secret detention since January 18, 2018, after he submitted his comment on the amendment of Chinese Constitution. And he was already told also suspect of subversion of the state power. His wife had been go to the police station many times, but still not able to see him. The last case I show here is the NGO 3 worker cases. These 3 workers were sent to secret detention since July 18, 2019. The picture in the middle is the wife and daughter of the leader of this organization, Chen Yuan. The third picture is her 4-year-old daughter went to the detention place, bringing the blanket her mom bought for her father. They still go to the detention place, but they are not able to see him. These NGO workers, many works on anti-discrimination and provide legal assistance for LGBTA people, disabled people, and also people have hepatitis, HIV disease. Thirdly, the reason I want to speak up is we need to prevent more human rights abuses in China. Comparing the 2 detentions of Jiaxi, I can see clearly that the deterioration of human rights in China these last 7 years. When he was detained the first time, although we knew Jiaxi was completely innocent, we knew they were trying to impose a crime on him. They still did it according to legal procedure. They gave notice. They allowed lawyer to meet him, went through a trial, etc. But this detention is just like an abduction. The authorities are completely disregard the legal system and doing whatever they want. The law means nothing. When I am here giving this talk, the deterioration of human rights is continuing drastically in China. Dr. Li, maybe some of you heard about it, was requested stop warning of the coronavirus. He died 2 weeks ago. Citizen Fang Bing and Chen Qiushi, they tried to report the Wuhan quarantine news to outside world, were disappeared for over 10 days as of today. And Dr. Xu Ziyong, participant of the Xiamen meeting, was taken away 2 days ago. His girlfriend also disappeared. People don't know his whereabouts in the last 2 days. If the erosion of the human right in China is not stopped, it will become a threat and a poison to the international society, just like the coronavirus to the international health. Dear friends, we really must stop this deterioration of human rights in China now. Thank you. Thank you.